We live in a ruthless, invisible legal system built on public shaming. Society acts like a brutal courtroom with no judges, where punishment is delivered instantly through silent judgment and hostile stares. Official laws save you from prison, but it is this unspoken code that keeps civilization from descending into fiery chaos every single morning. It is terrifying. Are you ready to face the real laws? 1. You are obligated to return your shopping cart to its place. Abandoning it wherever you please tests your moral compass on an unguarded cage of metal and plastic. Leaving it between parked cars, risking damage to someone else's paint, proves you only act normally when threatened with actual jail time. You fail the ultimate silent test of adulthood, showing a complete lack of internal control. You broadcast your selfishness to the entire parking lot. Total social failure. Have you ever judged people who abandon carts, or do you do it yourself? 2. Picture a neighbor pushing a roaring lawnmower across the grass. If he mows his lawn, you are socially obligated to mow yours. Basic yard work turns into an escalating landscaping Cold War, where a single surviving dandelion signals your personal disaster to the whole street. You are not just cutting weeds, you are dragged into an unspoken arms race involving chemical fertilizers and aggressive edge trimming. Total lawn supremacy. What is the most passive-aggressive thing your neighbor has done over a yard? 3. Cutting in line shatters a fragile social contract. Skipping the queue is strictly forbidden. Stepping in front of someone waiting for their coffee means declaring that your existence is far more important than theirs. You destroy the invisible foundation of public order that keeps us from turning into a bloody gladiator movie. Your shortcut turns civilized people into a savage mob, silently demanding immediate and ruthless street justice. You break the matrix of fairness. Pure chaos is unleashed. What punishment does a line cutter truly deserve? 4. Nobody wants to take the last slice of communal pizza. By grabbing it, you transform from a hungry friend into a greedy warlord stealing scarce resources. The food becomes a cursed relic, and people are ready to starve just to avoid touching it. That remaining piece of pepperoni turns into a strict dominance test. It is a social landmine made of hardened cheese in a greasy cardboard box, threatening to blow up your reputation if you reach for it. Everyone stares at the crust. Nobody moves. Are you the alpha who takes the last slice, or do you let it dry out? 5. The person stuck in the middle seat gets both armrests. Treat a cramped airplane row as a hostile geopolitical war zone. The right to those narrow plastic supports serves as the only compensation for a tortured, squeezed existence between two strangers throwing elbows. Stripping them of this tiny comfort violates the unspoken Geneva Convention of modern air travel, taking away their last shreds of human dignity. It is a literal war crime. Should aisle passengers who steal middle armrests be banned from flying? 6. Never answer calls from unknown numbers. A ringing smartphone no longer connects people across distances. It acts like a hostile digital home invasion, causing pure existential dread. Hitting the answer button means letting a faceless scammer into your peaceful reality, risking endless robotic harassment. You send the caller straight to digital purgatory, letting the screen flash until the invisible threat passes. Voicemail is ignored. Silence wins. When was the last time you answered an unknown number, and what disaster did it bring? 7. Finding an empty cardboard package is like stumbling upon a tool of psychological torture. You cannot eat the last cookie and put the empty box back in the cupboard. You open the door expecting a snack only to find a decoy. Leaving a weightless packet is not just lazy. It is a calculated act of pure domestic deception, dooming your own hungry family to crushing disappointment. This is absolute evil behavior. You are a monster. Who is the phantom pest leaving empty boxes inside your home? 8. Never microwave fish in the office. Heating up yesterday's salmon turns a normal lunch break into a ruthless act of chemical warfare. The pungent smell attacks the ventilation system, destroying the collective will to live of the entire staff. There is no escaping this lingering aroma. You trap your coworkers in an unavoidable olfactory assault and a sarcophagus of shame. It is an unforgivable offense. What is the most disgusting food your coworker has ever heated up in the break room? 9. Picking a spot in a public restroom works like a strict mathematical equation. Taking the middle spot is a crime. You must always leave a buffer urinal between yourself and a stranger. Choosing the wrong porcelain fixture acts as a direct psychological attack. Standing shoulder to shoulder destroys the sacred, unspoken, demilitarized zone, dragging two men into a terrifying standoff of aggressive vulnerability. Peak awkwardness is reached. You stare at the tiles. Has a stranger ever broken the buffer rule on you, and how did you survive? 10. One accidental finger swipe triggers a catastrophic betrayal. If someone hands you their phone to show one photo, do not swipe left or right. You risk unleashing dark secrets, discovering cursed screenshots or shameful selfies that will permanently ruin your friendship. You were not invited to the gallery. A blind swipe opens a digital Pandora's box that cannot be closed, destroying years of built-up trust in one careless second. A total invasion of privacy. What is the worst thing you have seen from swiping the wrong way? 11. A house guest must leave absolutely no trace of their existence. Visiting a friend works like a high-stakes stealth mission, where your main objective is to vanish into thin air upon departure. Folded guest blankets and a wiped bathroom sink ensure you achieve a pristine state of absolute zero. You were never here. Leaving a mess brands you as a permanent social parasite who will be denied entry in the future. Leave an invisible footprint. What is the most unforgivable thing a guest has done in your house? 12. Arriving without a gift strips away your humanity. Never show up to a party empty-handed. Walking through the front door with nothing turns you into a blood-sucking entity looking to drain the host's hard-earned fridge resources. Bringing a cheap bag of chips or generic soda means paying the mandatory social fee, buying your basic right to consume calories on their territory. You must pay the toll. Freeloader alert! Do you secretly judge friends who come to parties with absolutely nothing? 13. You are obligated to bag your dog's mess if they go on someone else's lawn. Ignoring a steaming pile in the grass is no innocent mistake. It acts as a deliberate deployment of toxic weaponry against a peaceful suburban neighborhood. Leaving it behind turns you into the ultimate local outcast, hunted by glowing security cameras and angry neighbor group chats. You are the villain. Target locked. Have you ever caught a neighbor leaving dog waste behind and confronted them about it? 14. When someone asks how you are, the only acceptable answer is a quick nod and a brief, positive reply. Saying you are fine is mandatory. Confessing that you are experiencing a catastrophic life meltdown traps the poor asker in a hostage situation they desperately want to escape. This is just a verbal handshake confirming basic human functionality, not an open invitation for a long therapy session. They do not care about your pain. Keep moving. Have you ever dumped your trauma in response to a casual greeting? 15. You are required to park dead center between the white lines. Parking diagonally across two spots on the asphalt sends a loud, intentional signal to the universe that you are a menace or a selfish monster. You occupy space meant for two cars. Your crooked vehicle commits the mortal sin of public incompetence, begging for key scratches and viral internet shaming. You force everyone else to squeeze out of their doors. It shows a deep contempt for society. Learn how to drive. Do you leave notes on badly parked cars? 16. Shouting out the ending makes you a criminal. Revealing major movie plot twists to uninitiated viewers is completely outlawed. You face trial for literal grand theft. You are stealing a unique emotional peak they will never get to experience again. Spoiling a dramatic twist is the deadly sin of modern storytelling, destroying months of hype and anticipation with a single careless sentence. You robbed them. Trust is broken forever. What movie or show was spoiled for you, and do you still hate that person? 17. Big headphones work like an invisible velvet rope signaling the wearer's withdrawal from society. Do not try to start a conversation with someone wearing them at the gym. Interrupting a heavy weightlifting session for small talk equals physically breaking through a barricade. They are in the zone. Forcing them to pull out an earbud to hear your pointless observation about the weather is a blatant assault on private mental property. Leave them alone. What is your go-to move to escape someone who ignores your headphones? 18. A simple exit turns into complex physics involving walking speed, distance, and heavy moral obligation. You must hold the door for the person behind you if they are within a specific invisible boundary. Guess wrong, and you are a jerk. Letting heavy glass slam shut means violating the unspoken law of doorway chivalry. Holding it too long forces them into an awkward and humiliating jog toward the wooden frame. You control their pace. High pressure? At what exact distance does holding the door become way too awkward? 19. Reaching across the table is a dangerous game. If a friend offers you fries, you can take a couple, but never grab a handful. Taking 3 crispy fries makes you a grateful buddy. Stealing 5 exposes you as an uncivilized beast coming straight from the wild to raid someone else's ceramic plate. They count every single fry. You cross the line between sharing and robbery? It is a strict test of feigned restraint versus savage barbarism. Show some class. Have you ever ended a friendship over stolen food at a restaurant? 20. Staring blankly at their screen crushes their soul, making the following silence physically painful. You are obligated to pretend you find the memes or random videos they show you hilarious. A forced chuckle acts as a mandatory tribute needed to keep the peace and validate your friend's digital existence. You fake a laugh to survive the interaction without casualties, paying the necessary social currency to avoid agonizing awkwardness. You owe them a reaction. Pure exhaustion. How long do you fake laugh at a video before it gets weird? 21. Firing up a leaf blower at dawn ruins lives. You cannot use noisy machinery early on a weekend morning. Starting a roaring gas engine declares a one-sided war on the entire sleeping community. You violate the sacred peace treaty of the suburbs, waking everyone up and turning peaceful neighbors into sleep-deprived enemies, plotting your swift downfall. It shows spectacular disrespect for our collective sanity. You become the villain. What is the legally acceptable time to start mowing the lawn on a Saturday? 22. Grabbing the leather folder initiates a ceremonial battle of generosity. You push their hands away. You must visibly and aggressively fight for the right to pay the dinner bill. A pleasant evening escalates into a desperate physical struggle where the main goal is to forcefully part with your own money. You duel with shiny credit cards until someone admits defeat. It is an exhausting ritual proving you are not a cheapskate. Fake honor. Do you secretly hope to lose the battle for the bill, or do you fight to financial death? 23. You are obligated to leave a tip regardless of official tax laws. The haunting fear of a waiter's silent disappointment prevents bad behavior much better than the threat of federal audits. You calculate the percentage, sweating over the math. You pay a heavy guilt tax to prove you are not a monstrous cheapskate exploiting the working class. Refusing to tip brands you as a villain in the eyes of the entire restaurant staff. They will remember your face. Pay up. Is tipping out of control, or are the real villains the ones who do not tip? 24. Sidewalks have invisible traffic lanes. Pedestrians must stick to the right side of the shared path. Walking right down the middle drags approaching strangers into a hostile game of chicken, forcing shoulder dodges and disrupting the natural flow of reality. Forcing others onto the muddy grass is an act of absolute chaos, showing a deep inability to navigate the civilized world properly. You do not know how to walk. Move aside. Do you shoulder check people walking on the wrong side, or do you yield? 25. Income acts like a classified state secret. Never ask how much someone makes. Talking about salaries forces everyone to play a bizarre pantomime of fake ignorance, dodging the question to avoid massive awkwardness. Nobody wants to admit they are broke. It remains the ultimate taboo, defining your unspoken place in the global hierarchy. You hide your bank account numbers just to survive the hangout. Money speaks in whispers. Should salaries become public knowledge to end this awkwardness once and for all? 26. The bus seat next to you is not an invitation to spy. You cannot read over someone's shoulder, staring into their glowing screen. Peeking at private messages is equivalent to physically breaking into a house and digging through someone's mail. Your wandering eyes commit a major digital social crime, invading a deeply personal sanctuary built of fragile glass and bright pixels. You are stealing their privacy. Mind your own business. Have you ever caught someone reading your text on transit as their eyes scrolled? 27. A normal bus ride turns into a sudden, high-stakes test of your soul. You spot a walking cane, and the clock starts. Young, able-bodied passengers are obligated to give up their seats to the elderly. Refusing to stand means the invisible court of silent commuters will judge you and find you guilty of lacking basic human decency. You become a public transit villain, cementing your status as a selfish monster. Everyone burns a hole in the back of your head. Stand up. What is the best excuse you have heard from someone who refused to give up their seat? 28. The break room holds a sacred brew, and you do not mess with it. Leaving an empty, burnt coffee pot broadcasts an arrogant message that you are the main character here. If you take the last cup of coffee, you must brew a new one. Draining the glass and walking away means abandoning your exhausted coworkers to their fate, treating them like disposable extras. It is a cruel crime against collective morale, requiring severe office retribution. You ruined the morning. Pure selfishness. Who is the serial coffee killer in your office? 29. Blasting a loud ad in the middle of a meeting remains one of the greatest sins of modern life. All heads turn. You are obligated to instantly mute a video that autoplays at full volume in a quiet space. One slip of the finger turns a respected citizen into a panicking bomb squad tech, frantically mashing volume buttons to stop the catastrophic audio breach. You sweat through your clothes trying to kill that echo. Your reputation crumbles. Maximum cringe. Have you ever accidentally blasted your volume in dead silence? 30. The food table demands respect. You commit a calculated act of social arbitrage by eating high-quality casseroles while bringing literal garbage. You must bring a dish perceived as valuable to a shared potluck dinner. Showing up with a cheap bottle of soda is like pulling off a malicious financial scam, trying to trade pennies for a luxurious communal feast. It ruins the vibe and brands you as a cheapskate profiting off hungry friends. Stop freeloading. What is the cheapest, most insulting thing someone brought to your party? 31. Leaving a message on read without replying is a deliberate and highly aggressive act. It is no accident. The digital timestamp turns ignoring a text into the exact equivalent of looking someone dead in the eye and slowly turning your back on them. It weaponizes silence into a hostile statement, leaving the vulnerable sender in a spiral of paranoid overthinking. You hold all the cards while they suffer in an empty chat window. Cruel move. Do you leave red receipts on as a power play or turn them off out of fear? 32. Broadcasting a personal argument forces innocent bystanders to become an unwilling podcast audience. Nobody bought tickets. You cannot talk on speakerphone in public spaces. It is an act of deep social terrorism, polluting the shared auditory environment with your chaotic drama. You force everyone in the grocery store to listen to your friend's terrible advice. We are trapped in your noise. Nobody cares about your problems. Turn it off. What is the craziest conversation you have been forced to hear on someone else's speakerphone? 33. The doors close and the tension spikes. A cramped metal box forces people into a carefully calculated mathematical ballet. Passengers stuck in an elevator must maximize the distance between themselves. Staring intensely at the floor numbers prevents the catastrophic tragedy of accidentally brushing elbows. Standing right in the middle destroys the sacred rule of the personal space bubble, turning a 10-second ride into an eternity of silent tension. Do not breathe. Have you ever faced the back wall of an elevator just to mess with people? 34. The bathroom stall becomes a trap. Walking away from an empty holder shows pure negligence and intimate betrayal. The person who finishes the toilet paper is obligated to replace the roll. Leaving a bare cardboard tube announces your supremacy over someone else's hygiene. You doom your own relative to a panicked, helpless struggle with their pants down, proving you only care about your own survival in the tiled room. Disgusting behavior. What punishment is fitting for leaving an empty cardboard tube? 35. Microphone theft is a crime. Jumping in to tell a loosely related anecdote means executing a brutal, hostile takeover of the narrative spotlight. You must let a person finish their story before launching into yours, which is supposedly even better. This is no longer a conversation. It is a verbal hijacking meant to crush someone else's joy and center the universe back on your ego. You steal their spotlight just to hear your own voice in the room. You erase their moment. Just shut up and listen first. Do you have a friend who constantly interrupts your stories with their own? 36. A borrowed car binds the borrower to an unwritten financial contract, where the currency is respect. Borrowed items must be returned in better condition than you received them. Returning a book with a torn page means defaulting on an unspoken loan of pure trust, permanently severing a friendship. You treat someone else's prized possession like a cheap rental, proving a lack of the basic respect needed to maintain human relationships. Handle with care. What is the most ruined item you have ever had returned to you? 37. Flashing lights demand silence. Lowering the volume does not help you see the road better. Drivers intuitively turn down the radio when an emergency vehicle approaches. It creates a sacred momentary pause where the entire road silently honors the impending doom of an unknown citizen. You perform a bizarre act of collective civic reverence, acknowledging mortal danger before hitting the gas and speeding off again. Silence for the sirens. Do you turn down the radio out of respect or just to see better? 38. A single spoken word triggers the collective murderous intent of the entire room. You are obligated to stay perfectly silent during a movie in a dark theater. Your whispering starts a war. People deliver swift, passive-aggressive justice through synchronized glaring and hostile shushing. You destroy the fragile magic of cinema, ruining the glowing illusion for everyone who paid good money to escape their miserable reality. Shut your mouth. Are you brave enough to shush talkers, or do you just seethe in silence? 39. Locking eyes binds you to an agonizing, unavoidable 5-minute contract. Upon spotting an acquaintance at the grocery store, you avoid eye contact to skip the small talk. You dive into the cereal aisle. You force yourself to feign intense interest in organic dog food just to vanish from their radar. We preserve our collective sanity one averted gaze at a time, protecting precious free time from pointless chatter. It is a survival instinct. Run away. What is the most ridiculous evasive maneuver you have pulled to avoid a coworker in public? 40. Objective truth is banned in favor of a mandatory theatrical performance. You are obligated to call every newborn adorable, no matter what they look like in those blankets. Even if the tiny infant resembles a wrinkled, furious potato, screaming at the ceiling, you lie through your teeth. It is a terrifying social grenade where honesty is an unaffordable luxury. You smile and nod to avoid shattering their fragile parental ego. They need this validation. Just keep smiling. Have you ever accidentally insulted an ugly baby? 41. Going rogue and buying a unique blender proves your ultimate arrogance. A wedding gift must be purchased exclusively from the provided registry. Deviating from the approved list burdens the newlyweds with useless wooden geese and ugly lamps they cannot return for cash. The wish list operates as a strict code of law designed to prevent domestic chaos and endless garage sales. You do not know better than the bride. Follow the rules. What is the worst off-registry gift you have ever given or received? 42. A modern habit of politeness turns out to be a medieval panic response. You are obligated to say bless you when someone sneezes violently. Essentially, you run an ancient antivirus program against demonic possession every time dust tickles a coworker's nose. The short phrase acts as a spell designed to shove an escaping soul back into the infected body before the devil snatches it right in the office. We fear the sneeze. Ancient protocols. Do you get offended if someone sneezes and nobody wishes them well? 43. A stadium packed with drunk, chaotic individuals is controlled by an invisible force. You are obligated to stand and remain silent during the national anthem. Blaring music cuts through all personal conversations, instantly freezing tens of thousands of people in place. It proves that social pressure holds a power as real and undeniable as physical gravity, forcing everyone to comply or face the immediate aggressive rage of the crowd. Nobody moves. Stand up. Have you ever seen someone refuse to stand and what happened next? 44. Silence in response to gratitude is a cold-blooded display of power. You are required to reply out loud when someone thanks you for a favor. It mentally tortures the person expressing appreciation, leaving their polite gesture hanging awkwardly in silent, dead air. Denying a simple response is a harsh rejection of a basic social bond, making you look like an arrogant sociopath. You owe them a reply. Say the words. Does it drive you crazy when people say no problem instead of you are welcome? 45. A thin piece of fabric creates an impenetrable magical force field against strangers. A jacket on a cafe chair officially reserves the table for your group. That lightweight coat holds back a chaotic, desperate crowd of hungry patrons circling the packed room. It relies on a fragile collective agreement separating modern civilization from a brutal fight for seats where only the strongest survive. You respect the jacket. Do not touch it. Have you ever brazenly moved someone's jacket to steal a table? 46. Confirming they look like empty zombies surviving a natural disaster is cruel. You are obligated to tell exhausted new parents they look great. Your civic duty demands you look right at their eye bags and dark circles and lie. It acts as a necessary, desperate kindness to help them pretend they are still functioning humans, capable of raising children. You protect their fragile grip on reality. Fake it. What is the most obvious lie you have told an exhausted parent to cheer them up? 47. Lifting one heavy box seals an ironclad, untransferable blood oath with no expiration date. If a friend helps you move, you are indebted for life to help them move. You repay this grueling social debt with lower back sweat, busted knees, and cold, cheap pizza. They can call in this gruesome toll anytime, anywhere, forcing you to haul their stained mattress up 3 steep flights of stairs. There is no escaping the heavy lifting. At what stage of friendship do you politely decline helping someone move? 48. Skipping an introduction reduces your companion to a lifeless, anonymous prop, trapped in an awkward void of silence. If you are chatting with a friend and run into another on the street, you must introduce them. Otherwise, you commit a split-second act of social erasure, pretending your buddy does not even exist while they stare at the floor waiting for a simple, polite intro. It is a cruel display of absolute disrespect. Introduce your friend. Have you ever been left standing in silence without being introduced? 49. Raising your hand when everyone is already packing their bags turns you into a corporate monster. Never ask a new question at the very end of a long meeting. You become public enemy number 1, proving you despise human freedom. Prolonging a finished, boring gathering just to hear your own voice shows a lack of basic situational awareness and empathy for tired colleagues. You trap everyone inside. Read the room. Who is the person in your office that always asks the last question? Just a second. We need to pause this relentless march of unspoken laws. Before we reach the final boss of social anxiety, we must crown a champion. The award for the most fiercely guarded primal rule goes to the urinal buffer zone. It is the ultimate sanity test. Break it, and you are not just rude, you are a psychological threat. Taking the middle porcelain fixture proves you are an agent of pure chaos. Do you agree with this verdict? Or does another unwritten law deserve the crown? Let us know before we reveal the final rule. 50. Never, under any circumstances, ask a woman if she is pregnant. This is the true final boss of unwritten rules. If you guess wrong, you do not just create an awkward moment. You detonate an irreversible social nightmare that will haunt you both for eternity. You burn bridges to the ground. These invisible statutes act as the true software running our daily lives and keeping society from falling into fiery chaos every single minute. What unspoken rule should become an actual punishable law? Subscribe, like, and share your new law and its punishment in the comments below.